What's going on, Bears fans? Harrison Graham here with another episode of Chicago Bears Now. We got a double dose of coaching news, couple of key interviews set as the Bears, at least publicly, did not have any interviews lined up today. Plus, a little bit of an update on Thomas Brown toward the end of the episode. Kind of wanted to dive into this a little bit as well, so stay tuned for that. Before we dive on in here, our next milestone here on the channel is 114,000 subscribers. We're at 113,380. You want to help us get there? You want to help us get to our next milestone? We're pumping out content every single day. The latest Bears news, rumors, coaching search updates. Normally we go live on Thursday, but my son was sick today. I had to stay home with him. But we've got you guys covered every single day with videos and live shows a couple of times a week. Okay, let's talk about Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator, as he's gearing up for a divisional round matchup against the Buffalo Bills. He is going to interview tomorrow. Not sure what time, as the Ravens do play Sunday night. So I'm guessing the Bears and Monken worked out a time, where it's after Friday's walkthrough. I would guess Friday night maybe is when it'll be. But as soon as they're finished, the Bears will tweet it out. So be on the lookout for that, obviously. And I like Todd Monken a lot. I think he's a real candidate. I think he should be a real candidate. I think he's someone that is worthy of getting an opportunity to be a head coach. He's 58 years old. He's been around the block and has put in a lot of years to get to this point where he gets an opportunity to interview for head coaching jobs. I think he's had some in the past. He was a college head coach at Southern Miss, and I give him a lot of credit for taking on that opportunity in the mid-2010s because he's probably a better coach than someone who would take the head job at Southern Miss, but turn them to a 1-win program in year one to a 9-win program in year three, won Coach of the Year in that conference that season. So, again, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And obviously, as of late, the work he's done with this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson has been extraordinarily impressive. They've been very good 2 years in a row, even better this year. And it's kind of been needed this year, especially the first 2/3 of the season when the defense was really struggling. But that third and fourth column to me is most impressive. Coaches talk about this all the time, winning the key downs. Third down, second in the NFL, they almost convert 50% of the time. Red zone, they score a touchdown almost 3 out of 4 times. That is extremely difficult to find the end zone that often. I mean, if you're in the high 50s, like that's above average in the NFL. They're almost at 75%. So Todd Monken is a very real candidate. He's a very good candidate. Obviously, there's going to be doubters of, well, it's Lamar Jackson. How much is he really doing? What I would counter with that is go look, and obviously stats don't tell the full story, but go look at Lamar's reference page in his, on Pro Football Reference. He has never had a better year as a passer than he has this year in year two with Todd Monken. He won the MVP last year in kind of a weak NFL MVP season. He has been so much better this year. This has easily been the best year of his career. Over 4,000 yards passing. He had never done that before. Over 40 touchdown passes. And I think he threw 4 picks. I think it was 41 touchdowns, 4 picks or something like that. I mean, just an incredible season. And obviously Lamar is going to get the majority of credit for that. But I think Todd Monken deserves a good amount of credit for that as well, as he's about to go 2 for 2 with MVPs that he coached. Lamar Jackson 2 years in a row. And oh, by the way, the 3 years before that, he was the offensive coordinator at Georgia. Their last 2 years, they won the national championship. He turned Stetson Bennett into a Heisman finalist and a 4th-round draft pick. That guy has no business being in the NFL. He's just not that gifted. And he goes in the middle rounds and wins 2 national championships with him. And everybody's like, well, it's Georgia, Kirby Smart. Look at the 2 years since Monken left. They have slipped a little bit. That program has not been the same the last couple of years. So I think this guy deserves his flowers. I think he's done a really good job as the Ravens offensive coordinator. And he's been around. He's been the Bucs OC with Jameis Winston when they were putting up numbers. He coached Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. It was very up and down, and experiences to learn from there. Like, he's been around great situations. He's been around not so good ones. He's learned, he's grown, he's developed. And what I like is he adapts his offense to his quarterback. Like, he wasn't running zone read, RPOs on the move with Jameis Winston like he is with Lamar. But he knows what type of player Lamar is. But he's also helped Lamar grow as a pure pocket passer, which I find very, very impressive. To me, if you're asking me right now, and I tweeted this out a little bit ago, Ben Johnson, Todd Monken, Mike McCarthy. Those are my three. That is the top three for me at this point in time. There's a few others that have piqued my interest, and we'll talk about one of those here in a second. But if I had a big three right now, that would be the big three. We are sponsored by Game Time, the place you can go to get last-minute tickets for the lowest prices guaranteed is Game Time. Listen, do you want to go to an NFL playoff game, hopefully a Bears playoff game in the future, or you want to go check out the Blackhawks? You got the Cubs in a few months, White Sox, obviously the Bulls in action as well. Maybe you don't live in the Chicago area. Wherever you live, chances are nearby there's sporting events to go to, concerts, comedy shows, big and small. If you need tickets online, Game Time is the place to get them. A lot of cool features like Game Time Picks, which you can toggle on at the top of the app. It's going to filter out the fluff of thousands of tickets, reduce your time on the app to make finding the tickets you need within your budget much easier. It'll kind of give you price points on the venue, and you can kind of figure out, okay, these are in my budget, these aren't. Okay, I like these seats, they're in my price range, let's go ahead and buy them. And then you will get them digitally sent to you very, very quickly. I've bought tickets to events on multiple occasions the day of, and on some occasions, like an hour or two before, got them digitally delivered to me very quickly, no issue whatsoever to get into that event. So check out Game Time today. Tons of other features as well, like all-in pricing and views from the seats, etc. Use promo code ChatSports when you sign up to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply. That's promo code ChatSports. Check out Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. What time is it? It's Game Time. Okay, let's talk about Brian Flores, a guy who I've kind of gone back and forth on. I think at one point he was as high as like 3 on my list. Now I'd probably have him more like 5 or 6. Not necessarily because of anything he's done wrong. Obviously, the Vikings crashed and burned a little bit, and their defense didn't play awesome in the playoff game. But when Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell and the offense is just, screwing around, it makes it tougher on the defense. I still think he's a worthy candidate and should get a second head coaching gig for a team at some point. I'm not sure the Bears are the team that makes the most sense, considering they do need to focus on offense, in my opinion. Now, could he sell them on an offensive coordinator? He ran through 4 of them in 3 seasons with Miami. It seems like he's learned a lot from his first go-around, so maybe he brings a guy like Josh McCown with him from Minnesota. Obviously played quarterback for the Bears for a few years, was a figure that the city and the fan base beloved there for a while. There's no question this guy can coach. I've kind of said this a couple of times. I think the Vikings have B plus-ish talent on defense, and they played like an A unit all year. The only category in here that they didn't excel in was red zone TD rate allowed, which was middle of the pack. So that's not great, but they held teams under 20 points. They stuffed the run, which all good defenses will tell you, goal number 1 and priority number 1 is stop the run. If you do that, it makes everything else much easier. They got off the field on 3rd down consistently. So he absolutely is a guy who is a very, very good football coach. I just think the questions and the doubts about who the OC is going to be, can he connect with Caleb? I'm sure he's learned. I'm sure he would do things differently this time around, but there's just more variables there. And I just think when it comes down to it, with a guy like Mike McCarthy entering the fray, with Todd Monken being out there, like I think you're going to have enough high qualified offensive options, even if you don't get Ben Johnson, that to me would just squeeze Brian Flores too far down the list. So I don't think he'll end up being this team's head coach. I know you got the connection with Ryan Poles at Boston College. They were teammates for a year. Obviously, Kevin Warren has gotten some intel from Minnesota about Brian Flores. It's been reported that's been pretty positive. So I'm not saying he's not worthy. I'm not saying I would hate the hire. I think I've just come around to there are other guys I would rather have to be this team's head coach than Brian Flores. Out of these two guys, who would you rather have? Do you like Todd Monken or Brian Flores more? Let me know in the comments, M for Monken or F for Flores. Like I said, I would go Monken. He's in my power 3 at this point, but things continue to evolve. I could certainly change my mind, but I would go Todd Monken. All right, latest from Thomas Brown, the man who finished the season off with a win in Green Bay. As you know, he interviewed for the Seahawks offensive coordinator job. And they just announced a second interview with Klint Kubiak, and there's been some kind of breadcrumbs that he's the leading candidate there. So that would mean that Thomas Brown likely not going to get that job. And I do just kind of wonder where that leaves him. Like, let's say you do end up with a Mike McCarthy. Is there a scenario where he's the offensive coordinator? I think Mike will want to call plays, but maybe you keep Thomas Brown and you kind of marry some of Mike's West Coast offensive concepts that some would argue are a little stale and kind of work in some of the wide zone Sean McVay principles and kind of mesh those a little bit. I think different ideas are certainly good. Now, you don't want to have the too many cooks in one kitchen thing, so I think there's a balance there, but I do know this. Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, they really like Thomas Brown. The players respected him a lot. I think he liked being here. Obviously, it's going to depend on what his opportunities are, but as of now, I haven't seen any others out there. Now, as teams start to fill out their staff and hire head coaches, I would imagine he'll have some more OC interviews with some of the head coach openings that are still out there. And potentially a few that could open up, like if a Todd Monken gets hired. Baltimore would need an OC, etc. But I like Thomas. Again, for me, I think it's too soon for him to be a head coach here. I think you just got to go with a more qualified option. But he is certainly someone I like and respect. And I do think there's at least a scenario where he could return on staff in some capacity. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to check out Game Time. Hit that subscribe button and like the video on the way out. We will see you guys tomorrow with more content here on Bears Now.